Okay, I'm gonna just start right there and just start talking. So I got home and I had this sudden thought because I was listening to something and to not give like too much of a explanation on why I'm upset, I kind of need to explain something that has been sitting in the back of my mind for a while that I think I'm finally willing to kind of tackle. Let me see if I have it up somewhere. There we go. So let me just pull up this image very quickly. So this, oh, a little bit too big. This is the Smash Brothers roster. So what had happened was that I was watching a video and it was talking about certain a certain idea, which was if if a new Smash Brothers game comes out, it has to cut something. And I personally feel like that is true to an extent. So this one's a little bit awkward because it has characters everywhere, but let me I don't think that updates in real time. Does it? Okay, it does update in real time. So, I want to set the stage with something very important. Out of all the characters that you currently see on the screen, something has to be cut. And even though people do not want to say it, one of the one of the most likely things out of all of this to be cut are the DLC characters from third parties. Like if we were to just from the face of it, just remove all of the third parties that are on here. Let me actually find like a good. There we go. So let's just say we just cut out all like third party characters, like right from the beginning. Like again, this really hurts because like some of the characters that I just cut, I play. Like I play a lot of Kazuya. Like he's a really fun character to play. But if we were to cut things, the most likely first thing that has to be cut are third parties and DLC characters, especially the DLC characters. And let's just say that some of those are going to come back. Like what we are mostly looking for is what can we confirm is going to be in is going to be in a potential Smash 7. I think where we are now, unless Brawlers 3, a Smash 4 the Wii U, and unless you count the 3DS version as a separate version, I guess it would be 5. Like the other thing that kind of would probably get cut are specifically the DLC characters as well. And this isn't like a thing out of malice. This is literally a these characters were decided after Ultimate was out to be retroactively put back into the series. or to be put in the series at all. And so there is this sort of like, there is a feeling that the characters that are there might not come back just because of their status of being one of those characters. So let me just pull that up like that. And out of what is there, which is basically solely Nintendo reps at this point, there are 3 cuts. Sorry, like I just like spat right into my microphone. There were 3 cuts immediately that I feel like might be made. And I feel like one of them is going to be for the extra reps of the Metroid series. One of the reasons why I say that is because even though Ridley was a fun character to be put in, I feel like if they put out a new Smash, new Smash representation for Samus. Wait, is Zero Suit even on here? I don't think Zero Suit's on here. Huh. Weird. I feel like when you take into account Metroid, I think, oh my gosh, I think they're going to want to represent some of the newer games from here on. I think when it comes to a representation for the older games, they might do something. When it comes to the later games, they're probably going to put in maybe a character from Prime 4. And for something more classic, maybe something from Dread. I don't know. But I feel like that might be cut. And I don't like saying that, but I have this distinct feeling that might happen. The other characters that might get cut as well are characters that I feel like were specifically removed in later entries because they didn't really like, they had kind of like a weirdness to their gameplay that made it hard to balance. Let me explain. So Young Link has a lot of things with it that I kind of like because uh Link is for more modern Link. Young Link is for the older style of like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask kind of Link. And I like that, but I also feel like that the other Link variants might actually go away. Like, I think that Young Link and Toon Link might be phased out if they try to make some sort of like cut to the roster. And I feel that is going to be a thing. And again, this is mostly off of the idea that most of Smash Brothers, to an extent, is a marketing ploy. You know, it is a way to showcase the new games that are coming out and represent old series. And in a way, I have this sneaking suspicion that we're not going to go back to Toon Link sort of vibes ever again. And making a very young Link, I don't think is in the cards anymore. I feel like we're either going to have stuff that is like, that harkens back to, it is either going to be an adult Link like Skyward Sword or the open world Zelda games, or it's going to be something that harkens back to Link to the Past with things like Echoes that recently just came out. And I have this sneaking suspicion that in the same sort of vein, we're going to lose Ice Climbers and Pichu. and it's mostly because that they were cut out of later entries. So it's like after Brawl, sorry, after Melee, you had Pichu get cut, even though they had like a fun aesthetic to them, with them being slightly more powerful than Pikachu, they take self-damage. It was like that was an interesting character. And Ice Climbers was removed from 4, if I remember correctly, because of balancing issues with it. And I could be wrong on that, but that sounds about right, which I never want to be right to an extent. So yeah, let me just sum up what I have done so far, okay? DLC characters, even if they're returning, DLC characters that we know have been cut before, and characters that limit the roster to put in new stuff. So far. And in that same sort of vein, I have this sneaking suspicion that Shulk is also going to get cut. And I think the reason why is not out of malice for the series. I honestly think it's because they're going to replace Shulk with Noah from 3. Not just because it's the newer game, but uh because I feel like that they would want to keep Xenoblade in the series. But aging up the representation might work out. There's several things about like having the older characters and representing the older characters and keeping newer characters in to show that like time gap. I feel like if they replace Shulk with Noah, it might work out. Uh, Speaking of which, I have a suspicion that they're also going to cut a lot of the Fire Emblem reps. And I think just whittle it back down to Marth and Roy to have the speed and the power swordsman. And just have that. You could say Ike, but the reason why Ike was in Brawl was because they wanted to bring some sort of notice to Ike's new game that was coming out for the Wii. Because he had a game on the GameCube, and then he had a sequel game on the Wii, if I remember correctly. Not really, like, too much of a Fire Emblem fan. I've played a few of them, but I feel like at the end of the day, like, whittling back on some of the Fire Emblem reps, maybe even putting in, like, a rep from either the newer game, which I don't think did too well, or maybe, like, putting in one of the, like, very older reps, maybe? I don't know. The other character I think might get cut is, I think, and I confirmed this with someone who, like, crunches numbers about this. I feel that Greninja and Incineroar might get cut, and it's mostly because Lucario is constantly, like, a well-liked character. And I feel like that they might cut the other two and just have Lucario as that sort of like being, and maybe replace it with a character from one of the like Scarlet Violet characters that they might put in, um like Masquerada or something. Like I have a feeling that it might be something like that. And this is gonna be a weird call. I know this is gonna be a weird call for like a lot of people. I have a suspicion that they might also cut Wario. And it's not really about it's a Mario rep. They're not gonna cut it. I have a feeling that the reason why is because the WarioWare games themselves are falling out of favor, and I feel like that they're either going to keep Wario to like an extent, or they're gonna retool him in some way. Another character I feel like that they're gonna retool is Pokemon Trainer, but I don't want to say that they're gonna remove Pokemon Trainer. I feel like, yeah, actually, let me remove the thing off of Wario because I feel like that he might still be in the game. I feel like they're gonna retool Pokemon Trainer, and I feel like that they might give a little bit more representation to other games in the series, like maybe have like the actual protagonist of instead of like uh red and green, you have maybe like May and Brendan as like their actual models. I feel like they might do something like that. I have been told that that's wishing a little bit too much because that's adding far too many models to the game. But I have a feeling that they might do something close to that, where they make the characters look a lot more like the games that they're representing. And this is gonna this is gonna sound really weird, but I have a distinct feeling. Okay? I have a distinct feeling that uh Wii Fit Trainer might get cut. I think it goes a little bit beyond like the relevance of Wii Fit as a series, and it's tentative of whether or not they're going to stay around. I feel like that they might get cut. Think other people will disagree, but I have this feeling that it might get cut. Along with that, I believe that there is a good argument of removing uh, two of the base roster of like Smash Brothers in general, which no one really likes to like hear about, but I feel like that there is a chance that both the Jigglypuff and the Earthbound reps get cut. And even though it's this sort of like more of like a vibe thing, I have this suspicion that they might. And that's what this whole thing is about, is whether or not a character might get cut just based on the general vibes of Nintendo as a whole. And just looking by the roster that is here, and I'm going to believe that Bowser Jr. is going to keep all of the Koopalings as, like, attachments. Like, we have, like, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 9, 40. Oh wait, I started counting multiple characters. Whatever. Um, this puts the roster at like under 40. And yes, I kept in the Miis. I kept in Animal Crossing. I kept even in Rob because he's like a weird, unique thing. And I believe that they're going to replace certain characters on here that have been deleted. Just looking at the roster here, we're looking at maybe like 35. Let me just count. Yeah, just from counting, this is 40 characters. And that's not even to say like that we're going to, like, and we're probably going to replace some of the ones here, and we might even keep some of the, like, third-party reps as well. Like, I have a sneaking suspicion that we're going to be keeping in Sonic, Mega Man, maybe Snake, but he was cut for, like, 4, so who knows. I have a suspicion that we might also maybe keep Hero and Cloud, but those ones are a little bit more, like, tenuous, you know? And there is a good chance that we might even keep Sora, because he is the one that was at like the high end of the poll. And when I look at the roster here, I feel like certain things like they don't have Dr. Mario on here, and they don't have yeah, they don't have Dr. Mario on here. They don't have who is the other Echo? Or Echo-esque character. Yeah, there isn't Dr. Mario on here, so that's 41. Unless they fold that into Mario as like some kind of like Echo fighter, like I was saying. There is a chance that we might even have like an Echo fighter as like Dixie Kong for Diddy. There's also a chance that we might also get like Octolings added to um like the Splatoon rotation, or maybe the other like Pikmin pilots. And this might even sound weird. There might even be a new like Mii fighter added. I do not know. But I feel like that the characters that are here, I feel like that what is actually represented here is a pretty solid like way to like go around it. And the only one that I honestly feel like I have the biggest problem with is the removal of the Earthbound reps and the tentative removal of the Xenoblade reps. Because I feel like that Xenoblade is going to get a newer character like Noah added, and I feel like that Earthbound is just enough out of the zeitgeist now that people might not remember it as well. Like it has a lot of like cultural roots like still in gaming as a whole. From the way that like RPGs online are still kind of seen to this day. But I have a feeling that as time goes on, the actual characters of Ness and Lucas are going to be forgotten. And there is a good chance that they might actually replace their spot on the roster with one of those RPGs that have replaced them. And again, like, and I am just assuming that every single third-party character has a very, like, uh, walking on thin ice kind of thing with them, but that's just me. Okay, so I thought of something else to, like, add while I was, like, off for a little bit. I might see an argument for keeping in Earthbound reps. Maybe it's because I didn't really grow up with them, but I distinctly feel like Earthbound has always kind of like sat in the back of like gaming culturally. So again, it feels weird to remove them from this roster. And I will completely agree that they are important to gaming as a whole, but I don't know what would replace them because Ness has a very distinct moveset. So I'm not pulling up the image again, but to fix it since it was probably like a few edits ago, but I think that maybe something like Lucas going away might be a thing. And again, this is not even counting in like what I think might come to Smash Brothers because that's more of like a personal taste kind of thing. Like even me like saying that like even if Xenoblade gets cut, they're going to replace them with Noah is mostly like a personal bias type of thing because I feel like Xenoblade 3 is the best one of the series, but that's just me. I and like me keeping a Rob is solely there because I feel like that they're not going to cut him, even though there is probably a good argument for it. So yeah, I would probably out of like the 40 that are there, I would probably remove Rob, replace him with Ness. But one of the more important things about this roster is new characters, and I kind of don't even want to like contemplate new characters. And one of the reasons for that is solely because like as I said personal taste, but one of the other things is that I feel like a lot of the character choices in this already that were in Smash Brothers were some of them were quite left field that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like having Banjo in Smash is pretty great, but I did not expect how much I was going to enjoy having Kazuya in Smash Brothers. I feel like that they are a fundamental part of me enjoying Smash Brothers like after the DLCs. And even though Min Min wasn't the character I really played as in ARMS, I can appreciate the fact that people got the character that they really liked from ARMS. Considering that I think Min Min might have actually been like the popularity poll winner for ARMS at some point. I could be wrong on that though. It's so hard. Like, I understand Sakurai's sort of reluctance to take a hatchet to this roster as a whole because I feel like that Smash Ultimate is one of the most diverse like collection of video game representation like ever. Like if I were to okay, so let me just like if I were to just like rewind all the way back to the beginning, you know? Like everything is up here and all we have to do is just look at third party reps. Like who do I feel like is most likely to stay in? And I'm going to passively say just because I have a distinct feeling about it. I have a feeling that the characters that are going to be the hardest to ask to come back are the Konami reps and the Microsoft reps. Even though I love Banjo being in the game, I feel like Microsoft is not in a good place, and I don't feel like Konami is in a good place. And I have this distinct feeling that they might not want to negotiate stuff like that right now. Characters that personally I would cut, like I could see an argument for not having Sora or Bayonetta come back, which uh I know a lot of people aren't gonna like, but yeah. Like I could even I even heard the argument of replacing Joker with someone from somewhere else in the SMT sort of ecosystem, maybe like Raido Kusunoha, or maybe even uh like Jack Frost being the representative. And I could kind of even see like replacing Cloud with a completely different character in Final Fantasy as a representative. Uh, we physically cannot cut Mega Man or Pac-Man because they're important to the history of gaming. But I also have a distinct feeling that we might lose the the Street Fighter representatives for a different character from Capcom. I feel like that we might actually get Monster Hunter, because if I remember correctly, Monster Hunter was originally on the docket, but because of certain other things, it was removed at the last second, which I could totally understand if that is the case. But yeah, I just don't. Uh, I was in a conversation with someone earlier today about the perspective of these characters might get cut, you know? And their perspective was the best that they can probably do is to just continuously re-release Smash Brothers Ultimate. Like, every single time a new console comes out, they go back to the rights owners and they're like, hey, we're re-releasing the game, just letting you know. And just keep doing that forever. And just say, Smash Ultimate is where it ends. And we're going to just keep bringing this series up. But that also means that they're going to have to add something eventually. And I feel like turning Smash Ultimate into a forever platform, with like, in which they just continuously bring it back and then just add more stuff every once in a while, I feel like that's what they might do. But I also feel like there's a good chance that Nintendo, like, will just ask Sakurai to uh, to to take a step back and let someone else handle the series. And if that is the case, like, everything is off the table at that point, because we will have no idea how a new head of development will treat the characters and which one they will value more. Because the only reason why I didn't remove Terry is exactly because Sakurai has so much love for the series that it almost feels unconscionable for him to be asked to to remove it. Like, sorry, I was double checking something. I feel like I feel like a lot of stuff with Smash Brothers is all up in the air right now, and whatever happens is not gonna be taken well. Like, everyone knows that that's what's gonna happen, is that even if they just port over the old game and they go, don't worry everyone, we didn't touch it, people are gonna be upset that there wasn't new stuff added. And you're gonna get also some people that were upset that, like, their favorite that they were rooting for years to get in is now never going to have a chance because they're refusing to add anything more to this long-running prolific series, you know? I was like, well, where's Fortnite representation? You know, it's like stuff like that, where it's like, no matter what happens, people will never be pleased. And that's just the state that we're going to have to live with for the rest of existence, is that no matter what Smash Brothers do, it's not going to satisfy everyone. In fact, it might satisfy nobody. The last thing I'll probably say onto this is, like, I honestly want your opinion. Like, instead of just like, oh, like leaving a like or dislike based off my opinion and then just leaving, I honestly want to hear people's opinions on what they think is going to happen. Because it's not just that. It's not just that. It is not. It's one thing to be upset that things will get cut. It's another to like have an actual like mindset about why things are gonna get cut. It's important to kind of like think these things out. It's why these sort of mental exercises are actually a little bit important, because when you are making decisions like this, you end up like tentatively like what is a good way to say it? I'm effectively trying to read minds. I guess that's the best way to put it. Is that I'm trying to read Sakurai's mind about like where the vibe of the series is going. And while like you shouldn't always like try to read minds, you should at least try to figure out someone's intentions, you know? And Sakurai has said a few times that he would rather, like, no new game come out than ruin what they have already made. And it is kind of sad. But I could see Nintendo taking him up on that and go, okay, our big crossover series is now Mario Kart instead, and all of our, like, our representation is going to be done through, like, Mario Kart instead. Like, I could totally see them doing that. But, like, Smash Brothers made them so much money. Like, it's one of the things you have to kind of remember about why they would even, like, attempt to reboot the series, is that you are looking at a at this point multiple decades long series, and you're asking them to not even try to get any of that money a second time around, and I do not believe that higher up executives aren't at least thinking about it. Like, they are totally going to try to capture lightning in a second bottle and make Smash Brothers again in some way, shape, or form, because having the hype season for Smash Brothers was fundamentally instrumental. Fundamentally instrumental. What I don't even know what I'm saying at this point. It got a lot of eyes on Nintendo. Everyone was wondering what they were gonna do. Whenever a new character was announced, like, they would basically see revenue go up through the ceiling, to the point where they had to get new roofs. Like, it, it would both be weird and a little bit insane if they never made a new Smash Brothers game, but equally if they never did ever again. I'm just worried. I'm just worried that, like, whatever they do completely and absolutely sours what little reputation they have left, because a lot of people are still upset at Nintendo for doing things like you can't use modded versions of our games for charity. Uh, they're going to be the same company that will be upset about, like, people emulating their games and then not give them avenues to play them at all, even like imported versions. Like, one of the characters I literally talked about, like Lucas, their game is not even in America. Like, and for Nintendo to justify, like, why is Lucas still on the roster if you're not going to release Mother 3 in the West? I was like, Nintendo would have to attempt to justify that mindset. And I understand they're a Japanese company. They release games in Japan as well. But, like, at the same time, like, it feels awkward. It feels awkward to do something like that. So, yeah, I'll probably, like, throw up this whole, like, meandering rant as, like, one thing, and then, like, put, like, massive caution tape on it, going, like, hey, just so you know, like, I don't know anything, and you probably don't really know anything either. But it is, in fact, fun to speculate. Again, like, a lot of the characters that I cut, even from my like cursory glance at like the possibility, would hurt me because they're characters that I play and the characters I love. And it's hard. It's hard for me to make calls like that, especially if I'm not the one like looking at the big numbers. But yeah, let me know in the comments about where you think where you think the cuts will be made and what you know is absolutely safe. Because I feel like definitively we all know in the bottom of our hearts that they will probably not cut half of the first party roster. Like that is probably a good call. But, you know, but yeah. Anyway, I'll see all y'all next time. Goodbye.